Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome, Anne Sinclair. So good to have you. And all of you who are here with us in this new episode of Psychology and Spirituality, A Bridge to a Better Life. We are here together, me, Marcia Trajano, and Anne Sinclair, and we're coming from two different countries, right? And she is in the UK, I'm in the US, and we'll be diving into a theme that deeply touches most of us, right? Why do we choose our families? What is behind all of that? So before we go in, to do this, Anne, how are you doing?
I'm doing just great, Marcia. How about yourself?
I am well, thank you, thank you. So, Anne, I am just so inspired by Joanna de Ângelis writings, right? There's in many different of her books, but the topic of family. And so I'm here proposing to you for us to explore the central theme of being inserted in a given family. Why is that? What is that, if you will, universal social agenda of families, and why is our family what it is? And if we keep on thinking about it, and just to bring forth some of her words, Joanna tells us that the family is not this only the social arrangement, right? She brings in her words family as a sanctuary, right? So there is this notion of sacredness, of a divine ground, right? But she goes, it's a sanctuary and a permanent training ground for the spirit. Spirit for all of us here, meaning all of us as immortal souls. But if I go back to Jung, just to pepper, to season a little bit with some additional flavor into the discussion, Jung, he says that family is also the first stage where the unconscious is projected and mirrored. Right, so it's that the ground floor, the beginning. So it's the first stage where our unconscious is projected and mirrored. And so he continues to tell something about that is a living classroom where we meet ourselves. And I love this, we meet ourselves through the other family members. Oh, so every right, so every relationship at home, and we're not going to be nostalgic or even idealistic, right? Every relation at home ranges from very small to quite long term, enduring conflicts to tenderness, to caring. And that's in that sense that Jung's saying those relationships, right? That a very kaleidoscope of emotional expressions, they become a mirror for our inner world. So from that perspective, it becomes this lesson plan, and I'm being figurative here, of course, a lesson plan for us, created through the light and the incredible knowledge of divine love, right? So it is almost like we have our own private school customized to what we need, even though we're not alone. It is embedded in a group of individuals, right, from infancy to death, quite frankly, but they're there, and those relationships are really critical for us to unhinge or bloom in a more beautiful way to say it, right? All the talents that we have within, all the areas that we still need to learn. So I'm going to ask us to start our discussion today, our conversation, and with a question: why, and why do we come back? We reincarnate in this current life in the families that we do. What are your thoughts?
It's not uncommon to hear people say, "I ended up in the wrong family." You know, this is you hear that. I say, and even as a child, you might have wished that you were in a different family. You're thinking your family is not meeting your needs, whatever they are, or whether they're financial or emotional or cultural or intellectual. And you look over to your friend's family and you think, oh, I would be much better off in that family.
Mhm.
And I always joke and I say, because I work in childbirth, and I say the stork never drops the baby at the wrong address.
I love
Meaning
it.
all babies come into the right place,
Yeah.
even if they come in through adoption or different arrangements. Everybody ends up in the right place. But I would like to refer to something that Joanna says, because I think
Yeah.
this reflects it exactly. And it says that the family is the workshop where we will develop our ability, our feelings, our emotions, giving it different directions. And it's saying that we don't live in what we think is our ideal family,
Mhm.
in the one that we wished we lived, because we need to be in the group that has best conditions to offer us for what we need for our
Yes.
evolution.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so that brings us to the issue: is like, what do I need for my evolution? And
Yes.
this is where we come to this whole journey of psychology: is,
Yeah.
you know, who am I? What do I need? Do I know myself? Because we are very accustomed in our society to be looking at the material aspects,
Mm.
the materialism of our society, but we forget our spiritual side, which is what is forever. Our spirit survives, goes on. Everything that is material is transformed, including our bodies. But
Mhm.
the relationships that go molding us, helping us, like you say, to awaken those dormant seeds that we have for greater feelings, that carries on with us to the next one, and so on. So it's really important to think in terms of evolution, of reincarnation, of a step by step of development. And that I really like what you were saying about Jung, because that is one of the things that Joanna says as well.
Yeah.
When you come into the family and you're all about, oh, my brother this, my sister the other, my dad this, my mom the other. But the issue is not them. The issue is you.
Yeah.
So why does what they do upset you so? Why
Yeah.
does the way they behave cause you such reaction? And so that is the self-knowledge. Obviously, when you're a child, you don't have that self-knowledge, but you have the experience that then you can relate to
Yeah.
and say, oh, when that person spoke to me in that way, it upset me. I didn't like it. Okay. So when
But
you
it
grow,
takes maturity, right? It takes that
it's
maturity
maturity.
to see that. Yeah.
So when you grow up and then you go on to make, establish your own family, perhaps have your own relationships, your own children, how are you going to communicate with them? Is it the same way that your parents communicated with you that you didn't like?
Yeah.
Or are you going to choose to do things differently? I tell you, if you do nothing, you repeat exactly what happened before, because that is the automatic pilot, if you like. The
Yeah.
automatic
It's
pilot
a it's the
repeats.
imprint, if you will. I love what you said. The automatic pilot, but that sentence is quite striking. If you choose to do nothing, you do the same, right?
Exactly. So as we grow, from childhood into adulthood, and then we have the opportunity to create our own
Mhm.
nuclear family, immediate family. We need to be maturing and thinking, not to be carry on. Oh, I'm upset because that wasn't good for me in my childhood, and now I'm, this hurts me because that's me. You say, okay, so that didn't work for me as a child. What might, how might I do this differently? So those are the seeds that you can make flourish, come up. You
Yeah.
have to be creative. You have to be courageous. Because I say courageous because to do something different than what those who came before did, you need courage,
Yeah.
because the
Yeah.
tendency of the group wants you to carry on doing the same, because that makes that feeling of belonging, that this is what our people do, and so we
Hmm.
always do it the same. So we say, no, I'm going to do this differently. Then the rest of the group will go, why are you excluding us, or something like that. So
Yes.
you need to be brave and have that courage of trying something different. Doesn't mean that what you're going to do is going to work, but you need to try, because
Yes.
how do we learn? By trial and error. And when the error is not a failure, it's learning that if I do it this way, this is what happened. And that's
Hmm.
experience. And experience helps us to mature, to grow, and think,
Yeah.
okay, let me then, if I did it that way, I got that. Let me try
Hmm.
something different this time,
Yeah.
and so on. And then life becomes so much more interesting, because we're not prisoners to
Yeah.
our upbringing anymore. We're not prisoners to the way things were done before, but we are allowed to be creative. And I think that, of course, there are restrictions depending where you live and the culture, society, the times, and all those things. But there is still an element of some freedom there. And sometimes when you're growing up in a family and you're not happy there, and you can't wait till you're 18 and off you go, and you reject everything that was
Hey,
there.
it was me. It's like
It's
I
common.
can't wait to leave.
And what happens is that, and that's fair enough. You feel like so oppressed that that's all you can do. Then you go off. But you're going to need to readdress this at some point. You can't escape from yourself, and all those experiences
Exactly.
come with yourself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like I say, when it comes to your time to make a family, all this is going to come up again. And rather than this being something that again oppresses you, it could be something, okay, I've seen now how it's difficult, and let me see, how I can do things in a slightly different way. But one of the things that also is saying, who are these spirits, this group who make up our family? These are not just random spirits.
Yeah.
These are our
Yeah.
family, and we
Yeah.
keep coming back with one another. This is the bigger group, the spiritual group, and we can take a break and go have a life in some other family sometimes, because it might be useful to learn something somewhere else. But our connection does not end at death. Our
Yeah.
connection carries on because it's a spiritual connection, and we come back and we alternate positions. So the person that was my mom in this incarnation, in the next one might be my child. We
Yeah.
change positions,
Yeah.
or might be my sibling,
Yeah.
or my brother, or
Yeah.
my father. And so we are learning to respect all spirits, to understand that our positions in the family have their own learning opportunities,
Yeah.
but mainly is to look at those situations or the things. What is it that we don't like? Because if that is prodding us, there is something there for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
we are
what you
very
mean
quick to
here,
point at
yeah,
others.
yeah.
You. But
Well, that's a defense mechanism. If I knew all my errors, all my faults, all my imperfections, I may just go into this, just crawl into my room and never get out, because there will be too much for me to see. So defense mechanism, it's all your fault, but then that's quite childish to stay stuck in that, looking at others as the source of everything that's wrong. um can I ask you something, because you're speaking quite interesting. about coming back, right? And the roles may be changed. If today I'm a mother, tomorrow I may come back in the same groupings of people, and I may be the child, and it's a different lesson that I learn. But I was wondering, and what are your thoughts, or what do you believe are the karmic or emotional lessons that our current family situations be offering us, right? If we're thinking those terms, because from a spiritist, spiritual point of view, right? If a family, as it's constituted, is chosen for me as an immortal soul, I'm there because I need to learn very specific lessons, right? Each one, each I'm not going to say conflict, but I'm going to say challenge, or each limitation within the given family unit. And those limitations, I think you already alluded to that, can be socioeconomic environment, or it could be language, or I don't know, a some disability, or some quirks, mental or physical disabilities at that, right? But each challenge or limitation in the family um, should, according to Spiritism, reflect an area where my spirit, and individually and collectively, all the members of that family need to grow. Right. So I just wanted to maybe we can talk about that area of all those friction points, or those things that just we go, go against one another, but they're actually very positive, because they're there to reveal either an inner wound, or an unresolved emotional pattern that must be healed, and it hasn't yet been addressed before. Therefore, you plopped into this family constitution, right? This groupings of people, so that you can see it, and you can start to heal. What are your thoughts from that perspective?
Yeah, I think that you are so right, Marcia. I think when we start to study spiritism, and also like the Joanna de Ângelis, we start to look at our lives differently,
Yeah.
and we start to look at our relationships differently. And the first relationship we have is the relationship with our family,
Hmm.
with our parents, with our siblings, and so on. And what Joanna says is that we are on a pathway of evolution. And they say we have these seeds to awaken. One of the seeds that we have to awaken is the seed of love. The seed of love begins, if you like, in an instinctive form, like in the instinct that the mother has to look after the baby, just like the
Hmm.
animals have an instinct to look after their babies. The
Hmm.
human mom also has an instinct to look after their babies. And this instinct is like the, let's say, the almost the beginning of a future love, which will be a sentiment which will be so much bigger, and that will have so many different angles, and that will lead all the way back to God, to God's love. But
Hmm.
we have the opportunity to experience love, to start to develop our ability to love one another, because we have bonds with these with our relatives. We have
Hmm.
genetic bonds, we have emotional bonds, we are under the same roof, we share the meals, we share the beds, we share the difficulties. As a family, we face things together, and that is a very sort of intimate situation, where she suggests that we need to start to exercise and to learn to love our neighbor inside our family,
Yes. Yes.
as our siblings, as our parents. So those are our neighbors that Jesus talks about, that we start with. Not
Hmm.
wanting, she said, if you can't love those who are in the same household that you go through your day to day, and you have your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner, you watch TV together, you're spending all this time,
Yeah.
and you can't tolerate, or you can't find a way to develop love and compassion for that person. How do you expect to develop love and compassion for someone you don't even know? So she said it is really, it's not that it's going to be like, oh, it's easy. It's because it's
No.
new.
Yeah.
It's new
Yeah.
for us. As human beings, we are still at the beginning of our development. Because we have high technology and all our mobile phones and all this, we think we are, whoa, we are very clever. And yeah, materially, we've moved ahead a lot. But
Yeah.
emotionally, we are still at the beginning of our development. So then we need to have compassion for ourselves as well, and not beat ourselves up because we can't do it, or so we go looking for ways to try to understand one another, to tolerate one another, to see the quality that the other one has that I still don't have, which might make me jealous because they can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Recognize I feel jealous because, and then instead of being angry, I can be like celebrating that. So, oh, that's lovely, you can do this. I too will do this one day.
Yeah.
I too can achieve this. And you just start changing that very primitive, very competitive kind of attitude to thinking like, how does love develop? But love does develop in the family. And this constant exposure to the strengths and weaknesses of one another helps us to grow as well. And slowly but surely, if we can learn to love those who are in our home, then we can learn to love the other ones in society as well. And like Joanna says, we run away from the family where we were inserted to begin with, and then we set up our own family.
Yeah.
But our experience of love is very limited.
Yeah.
So the relationships in the partnership between, let's say, the married persons can be very difficult because that usually it's just sexual attraction.
Yeah.
There's no true love. It's just that spark. And once that wears off, where do you go? Because the exercise of learning to love another person is the same one that was introduced back in the home.
Yeah.
And it makes it really interesting because then as if you get to my age, and you're being a grandparent,
Yes.
oh my gosh, all these missed opportunities.
Yes. Isn't it funny how
And
it goes? And I think maybe you want to talk a little bit about as we close the circle, and that circle may be our childhood, our adolescent years, and early adulthood, circle one, right? And then we get to the next one, which is true adulthood, which most of us may have, not everybody, but most of us will have a child, a family to raise. And that family today has been more with dogs and pets than children. I recognize that, but it is love, right? You're raising, you're taking care of another being. But then let's say it is a child, and the second circle is closed, and you start the third one, which is, as you mentioned, the ability to now look at from a different eye. No longer, as you said, this is what I learned in the circle one, and I have my judgment, good or bad, etc. The circle two, I may or may not, but let's pretend I may try to address the gaps and ineptitudes or the things that I found was wrong in my first one. But then the third one, you start to resignify the whole thing, right? Not only our judgment, perhaps, but also, like you said, the missed opportunities. But I love to hear more from your experience or your thought processes on that.
yeah, I think that one of the things that as we stop and we start reflecting and looking back, is what Joanna de Ângelis says, is to allow the other to be who they are
Mm.
and not to project our expectations on them. They are who they are, and whichever way they present to us, that is the lesson that they share with us for that moment.
Yeah.
So sometimes we might have, let's say, we might be upset with our parents because we think, we were not happy as children in whatever way things were brought up. But we need to think that life goes on and these relationships don't disappear. So even if they've already passed to the spiritual world, we can, in thought, in prayers, say,
Yeah.
okay, not ideal. There were lots of difficulties, but I am thankful, I am grateful for the
Yeah.
opportunity they gave me for this life. For
Yeah.
here I am.
Yeah.
And that already is a big blessing, a big gift. And to
Yeah.
look at the gifts rather than the faults and
Yeah.
say, if they didn't do better, it's because they couldn't. Because if they could, they would. We can't be more evolved than we are. We can pretend in society to be better than we are, but the reality of day to day life, it all comes out, it all is revealed. And in the same way that we see them as they truly are, they also see us as we truly are. Well, we got, even to work and things, we put on our nice clothes and our smile, and we are so polite and everything's good. But nobody knows the monsters that go around inside us. They, they come out at home because they're so
Yes.
relaxed, and out they come, and all our impatience, all our difficulties, they present themselves. So is like she talks about diluting resentment, anger, and finding forgiveness, acceptance, and thinking that she says about the most troublesome member of our family that really annoys us most, or like causes us most. She said you need to think about them. They are a sick brother or sister.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
sick. They're not well, and to think they're not like judging them, but say, well, obviously you're not going to put yourself in harm's way, but you can use the power of prayer to extend. But by the power of prayer, you change your heart, so you
Yeah.
stop harboring animosity, anger, frustration. Why don't they do this? Why don't? Why don't? Why don't? But they do what they can do. That's for them. It's not for you. You need to come into your place of power, which is the love, the seeds of love that you have, and to see them. These are eternal spirits, like all of us, and they are going through a difficult moment, and they will have to struggle through it as well. But if we can shower them with love, maybe
Yeah.
that will help them, but it will help us more first.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
say love help. The best thing of love is if we love,
Yeah. Yeah.
because we are immersed in the vibration of love. To
Ah,
be loved, yeah, Divaldo always used to say this, to be
ah,
loved by others. Oh, it's very nice, but that's not the objective. The objective is for us to be the source of love. And that takes maturity, growing up, developing, and it doesn't happen in one incarnation. So then we can start to see, okay, that the things that we thought were punishments, karma, bad luck, whatever, no,
mhm.
they're workshops,
Yeah.
opportunities, lessons. That changes everything,
Yeah.
or could change everything if
No,
we can.
it does. It's really shifting the paradigm of how we even see ourselves. Just the other day, a couple episodes ago, I was discussing a very interesting movie, Freedom Riders. I don't know if you've seen it, and
Mm.
it's a 2007 movie based on a true story that led to the publication of a book called Freedom Riders. And those writers, were all adolescents or teens at risk in the school that this very young teacher started teaching right after the riots in LA in 1992,
Mhm.
right? But what's so interesting about that movie, and we talked a little about in the episode I'm bringing up here for a reason, is the fact that there were people coming from very different ethnic backgrounds, and and there was this, gang, urban violence, but gang violence, they're barely surviving. And right, they're all teenagers and they're put in one classroom together, but there's this turf wars and everyone is the other. I think you talked really well. The families where we learn to love the other, and in this classroom, they're just some trauma from not so far away war zones, and they were exiled into the US. So the Cambodians, for example,
Mm.
some of them African Americans that went through a lot of socioeconomic, racial, etc. Impacts in their lives, and many others. So they just kept into their groups, and the amazing thing that this very young teacher did was she brought them together through compassion, through listening to them, but also having room for them to be themselves. So when you mention earlier that it is this workshop for our souls family, is where we see the other, the family member, as they are, right? In all their vulnerabilities, what makes them sick, perhaps. You mentioned, right? Look at the other who is a pain. Oh, I can take care, I can deal with this anymore. That other, my brother, my sister, my cousin, etc., they are sick. So when you are able to see the other truly as someone very close to you, everything changes. That
Mm.
paradigm is shifted. So I really appreciate you talking about it. Just as a by the way, we mentioned Jung earlier, but Jung, he does talk about that family, those situations of conflict. It's when our shadow is activated, right?
Mm.
Those unconscious parts of ourselves. So it's very interesting that we should look, all of us, you, me, and all of us here today, we should really look now back to your words, and as you're talking about being in the grandmother stage of your life, but let's look at it not as missed opportunity, but as a refreshing new opportunity to perhaps highlight those, I don't know, unprocessed
Mm.
emotions, right? All that my tendencies that I've inherited, that bring with me in this new life. What is it that I need to integrate in this life, in my personality? What do I need to transform? And maybe as we are proceeding in that line of thought, and we maybe reflect upon, all of us here, maybe reflect upon the fact that if we're going through repeated, right, difficulties, or different example, if we go through repeated emotional triggers in this family, and they're really intense to me, let's pause, right? Let's pause and say, what is it that that circumstance, that challenge, that
Mm.
conflict, that emotional pain is telling me that I need to pay attention, right? I love this.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, Marcia, that's so important because it's part of that process of self-knowledge.
Yes.
Sometimes we bring wounds from far back.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not from this lifetime. We
Yeah.
sometimes bring wounds from previous lifetimes, so we don't understand. Uh, so we just react to what's happening and accuse the other, when
Mm.
actually think, why is this hurting me so much?
We react to the pain, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and
And that
and
is
the what is the pain, but not the why. The pain, why
exactly
is this? Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
root of it. And Joanna, when she talks about the causes of suffering in her book Plenitude and all that,
Mm.
She's always saying, unless we find the roots of our
Yeah.
suffering,
Yeah.
it's like a tumor. You just cut it out, but you haven't found the primary tumor. It's
Yeah.
going to come back, and
Yes.
so it's an opportunity for self knowledge, thinking, going deeper, and say, okay, I have a wound here, and thank you for showing it to me, kind of scenario, because now is the opportunity to heal it. And if you need to go to therapy, you go to therapy, or if you need to, whatever pathway you need for your healing, you follow that. But that
Yes.
alert to it was brought to you in the safety of the
Yeah.
home, perhaps.
There you go. There you go. And the place that we should expect that I can fail because this is where I'm going to learn to not fail so much or not so frequently or not so bad. Right?
Yeah, no,
So,
and this is exactly one of the things that Joanna was saying is like in the home, we
yeah.
learn the tools that we will need for the world outside. So I spoke of love
Mhm.
before, but also things like our negotiating power, our empathy, our tolerance, our ability to see our neighbor's pain and to give them the space that they need.
Mhm.
We've learned that at home, and then we take it to the life outside, to our
Yeah.
friends outside the home, to our workplace, to our new relationships. But if we haven't learned that at home, we hadn't had that experience, we might come out more immature. But just something that came to my mind that I think we still have a little bit of time yet.
Yeah.
You know, something, Marcia, that is quite topical. It's about, okay, we're talking about the family and how we are learning in the family. And
Mhm.
when you think in the past, I talked about having our meals together, having breakfast together and lunch together and dinner together, where those conversations could take place,
Yeah.
that interaction could take place, that interaction that helped each other to get to know themselves and also to identify things in others. But nowadays, when families, everybody eats at a different time, or they're on their phones or on their tablet, even you see kids in the high chair, little kids, and they put a tablet to keep them
Yeah.
quiet
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
talk to them. So that exercise of daily conversation, how's the
Yeah.
day? What happened? Oh, my boss really annoyed me, or this person in the bus took the seat, and I was so,
Yeah.
what are the things that are causing you headaches? And then as a conversation as a family, we can break it down and say, okay, when that happens again, maybe, we could try something different. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you. And, like, so
Yeah.
we are helping each other as a group,
Yeah.
because the family is a collaboration, just like animals, working groups, family
Yeah.
groups.
Yeah.
It
And
comes from the
teaching, right?
survival,
Yeah.
and teaching. So if you've learned to find food in one way, you teach it to your family, you
Yeah.
know, uh, and go on like that. You have groups of animals who learn things, and then they keep it. It's an advantage for them. We started off like that,
Yeah.
but if our family is fallen apart, although
Yeah.
we still have one roof, but we don't talk to each other anymore, we don't interact, we don't ask, how was your day? What happened? What made you happy? We are missing out on this wonderful opportunity of development. And I think there is an issue with electronics nowadays, with
Yeah.
timetables, with very busy schedules.
Yeah.
And we need to have a look at our own families and seeing, okay, is this working well, or do we need to adjust something?
Yeah. But I think number one, um, it's the structure of our lives that have shifted,
Mm,
right? We have so much more time because technology provided less time doing menial tasks,
mm,
but we work harder. At least that's my experience here in the US. And we work so much. It's very difficult to have time off to do things, to enjoy, to just be. And there is this trigger, almost guilty feelings that if I am not producing, I'm idle. But then comes social media, and we're so tired that the act of meaningless scrolling actually provides me perhaps a needed rest because I'm on the go. But one of the things that is very interesting, Joanna de Ângelis brings us so many tools, and I think you're going that way, right? To talk about the tools, and the tools include, you already mentioned prayer, but the tools may mean silence, right? How
Mm.
novel is the idea that we should create a moment for silence, and in that silence create a moment to invite ourselves in, to see who we are, to understand the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? All
Mm.
the that are nourishing our soul, or the things that I'm doing that perhaps not so much, and what are the things that are deviating me from my path, for my desires, my needs, my wants. I want to tell you, you mentioned meals together, and I was brought up in that, right? We had 3 meals together, and it was very formal, and we could not deviate. So as young children, we would, and this is through schools, because
Mm.
where I grew up, schools ended in time for you to have lunch with your parents, right? So we're all be there waiting for my parents to come home so that we could sit down and have lunch, for example. So those are very indelible memories of mine. But now that we don't, I'm thinking, and this is a silly thing to think, so you don't judge me, but a lot of professional corporate world is really seeing the power, number one, of diversity, diverse thought processes to deal with a given problem, and number two, the idea that collaboration should be not just happenstance. Oh, we're together, we work together, we collaborate. No, really take the time to collaborate. So one of the tools that I've been able to exercise through work, and you made me think of it, is what they call daily management. What is a daily management? 15 minutes, that's all it takes, where you come together as a team, and it can be as small as, let's say, 5 people, and as large as 200, and you look at how we're doing. So,
Mm.
for us to know how we're doing, we need to have our compass. In terms of corporate world, would be a key performance indicator, whatever that is. Are we fitting, meeting our targets? Are we surpassing? Are we, you know? But for us, what is that target? And the target may be our items from our moral compass, right? Have we been you mentioned patience, tolerant. It can even be resilience. It can be gratitude,
Mm.
right? Or being gentle with the other, being whatever. There's so many qualities, human qualities, that we still need to work. And if we bring 15 minutes of our time to work within whatever the group may be that we're inserted as our spiritual or material family, and let's look, how am I doing today? Oh, we didn't do our target. Why not? And together brainstorm a solution. And I think I'm going to practice that, a daily management in my own family. Thank you for sharing that collaborative nature of the family. And we are getting to the end of our time together. Are there any additional thoughts that you would like to bring before we close?
Yeah, I mean, Joanna de Angelis just talks about, like, just mentioning the threat to the family structure and all this. And before we started the show, we were talking about, we need to look at our evolution.
Yeah.
Evolution is always ongoing. So even the institution of the family, which when I was growing up could be a very authoritarian model, and which a lot of young people reacted against, including me, and so on. But it's like you're talking about reinventing your work tool in your family.
Yeah,
It's also the family is dynamic, and it is not about those rules of like, you can talk, you can't talk, or who's the boss. But it's about we are a group of spirits
yeah,
that are coming together. We have been together for a long time. We know each other. We know each other's secrets. And that's why sometimes we are uncomfortable with one another. But
yeah,
we are destined to learn. And it is by having the opportunity of being together through the different lives that we develop. And as we develop and we become a happy family, a
yeah,
nurturing family, we can then start to encompass the rest of humanity as a family as well.
yeah,
And then we grow into having a society that reflects our families.
yeah.
Because the society is chaotic today is because it reflects the chaos in the families.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
It's just a representation of this
Yeah,
is where we at.
yeah.
And it's not, I don't go like bad or good. This is the
Mhm.
reality. We are still very young spirit.
Disorganized
It
as
is
a
organized.
yeah,
But
yeah,
are we better today than we were 500 years ago? Yes. Are we better today than we were 1,000 years ago? Yes, because evolution goes in one direction. It's always
yes,
forwards and upwards.
yeah,
So we can be optimistic, we can be creative, and we can transform our family experiences so that we go in a journey to discover ourselves more, to understand ourselves more. And as we understand ourselves, we can understand the other
yeah.
because we can see that they too have the same difficulties that we have when we can acknowledge our own issues. And then
Absolutely.
it's very optimistic for me.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we move forward little
I,
by little.
yeah, I love it. I love what you said. So let us all move forward. I do believe that the amazing opportunity to live in a family, right, is that opportunity to be able to learn, to study, and learn the art and science of love. We're not there yet, right? Each time we come, we refine our learnings. Maybe, and one day we get to a postdoctorate degree in love. We are still in kindergarten at this point, but it is a classroom, a curriculum that no spirit, not a single one can skip, right? We all have to learn it. We in from that perspective, it is the home is the right classroom that we have the nuggets of issues and conflicts, etc., etc. But it's where we're in the perfect environment to learn to coexist, to forgive, but also to care, to serve the other. And we do that in different roles, as a child, as a sibling, as a parent, grandparent, so on and so forth. But Joanna tells us that whoever is incapable of loving those with whom they live will find it even harder to love those that you don't know. So
Mm.
let's look at home as this rehearsal for the ultimate play of life where we're going to be able to do those roles quite well. But I wanted to thank you, Anne. I really appreciate you being here. I welcome all of you who are here today as well. And this has been a great time together. But if this is the first time that you're listening to this program, please be reminded that the psychology and spirituality weekly talks are indeed based on the works by Joanna de Angelis, and it is a way for us to better understand life, psychology, elements of psychology, but also elements of spirituality that will help us be better, feel better, grow better. I want to thank our sponsors, Mansão do Caminho, the United States Spiritist Federation, the International Spiritist Council, and AME Brazil, the Brazilian arm of that international organization, the Medical Spiritist Association. With that, Anne, thank you so very much, and we'll talk again in a future episode. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.